The morning mist clung to the pavement like a memory that refused to fade. Samuel Walker, 68 years old and freshly retired, walked the winding country road with slow, thoughtful steps. The quiet around him was comforting, a stillness he'd learned to appreciate since his wife Lorraine had passed last winter. Their house, now echoing with silence, urged him outdoors more often. It was on one such walk under a pale grey sky that he noticed her. A cat, scrawny, mottled with dust and dirt, with eyes the colour of tarnished gold, emerged from the roadside hedges. She didn't meow. She didn't purr. She simply followed. At first, Samuel assumed she'd get bored and turn back, but mile after mile, bend after bend, she remained behind him. Not too close, not too far, just there. A silent companion whose persistence unsettled him more than he cared to admit. By the time he reached the rusted old gate that marked the entrance to his land, he turned around sharply. "Go home now," he said gently, almost apologetically, "wherever that is." The cat sat, eyes fixed, tail wrapped tight. He sighed. "You're not going to listen, are you?" She blinked once, slow and deliberate. Samuel opened the gate, and the cat padded in behind him like she'd always lived there. That evening, Samuel tried not to look at the small figure curled up by the fireplace. He told himself she'd be gone by morning, that cats were fleeting creatures, guided by whim. But morning came, and she remained. He poured her a saucer of milk, muttering under his breath, "One meal. That's all." She drank in measured, graceful licks, then returned to the hearth, where a soft quilt still held Lorraine's scent. Samuel stood in the kitchen doorway, arms folded, watching her. Something about her felt purposeful, not just hungry or lost, but intent. As days passed, a routine began. The cat, he refused to name her, waited by the porch when he stepped outside. She followed him on his walks, never ahead, never lagging, just walking beside him like a silent sentinel. And at night, she curled into Lorraine's favorite armchair, her golden eyes watching him with an eerie attentiveness. He started talking aloud more. Not to her, he told himself, just into the air. But it was her gaze, he answered, when the silence pressed too hard. 2 weeks passed before Samuel opened the drawer in the hallway, one he hadn't dared since the funeral. Inside, old photographs lay scattered like leaves after a storm. He picked up a small frame, its corners worn, its glass dusty. It was a picture of Lorraine, smiling, holding a kitten in her arms. He had forgotten that cat. "Misty," he whispered. "We had her for, a year?" The memory surfaced with painful clarity. The kitten had disappeared one stormy night, never to return. Lorraine had cried for days. Samuel, too, though he never admitted it aloud. The cat on the hearth lifted her head just then, golden eyes glinting in the dim light. "Can't be," he muttered, shaking his head. "She'd be long gone by now." That was 40 years ago. Yet something gnawed at him. Not logic, not belief. Something deeper, something older. Samuel hadn't stepped into Lorraine's sewing room since she died. The door had stayed shut, the key tucked inside a teacup in the cupboard. That afternoon, driven by something he didn't fully understand, he unlocked it. Dust danced in sunbeams that filtered through yellowed curtains. Fabric swatches lay neatly stacked, half-finished projects still pinned to corkboards. It was like she had just stepped out for a moment. The cat entered behind him, her steps hesitant, her body low. Samuel knelt and touched the corner of a quilt Lorraine had been making for their granddaughter. His throat tightened. The cat jumped onto the sewing table and pawed at a box. Inside were old journals, bits of embroidery thread, and, folded with care, a letter, unsealed, addressed simply, "For Samuel, if I go first." His hands trembled as he unfolded it. "My love," it began, "if you're reading this, I'm already watching over you. I always said I'd find a way to stay close." He stopped, the room blurred with tears. And when he looked up, the cat was staring at him again, still, knowing. That night, Samuel placed the letter under his pillow. He couldn't bear to read more just yet. He sat on the porch, wrapped in a blanket, the cat on his lap. The stars above shimmered faintly, like distant fires burning low. A breeze stirred the wind chimes, Lorraine's favorite, their soft notes whispered through the night. "You knew her, didn't you?" Samuel asked softly, stroking the cat's matted fur. The cat didn't move. "You're not just here by accident." The wind picked up slightly. The chimes sang a little louder. And then, from the trees beyond the field, a shape emerged. Another cat, grey, sleek and graceful. It stood at the edge of the clearing, eyes reflecting the moonlight. The stray on his lap leapt down and walked toward the newcomer. Samuel rose, heart pounding, watching the two cats meet nose to nose. The newcomer blinked once, then turned and vanished into the woods. But the stray remained, this time walking back toward him, brushing against his leg, then curling up at his feet. She had chosen to stay. And in that moment, Samuel felt it. Not fear, not confusion, but peace. A whisper in the wind that said, "You're not alone." Morning light spilled gently into the kitchen. The cat, now fed and brushed, no longer looked like a stray. Her coat had regained a silken sheen, and her eyes, those steady golden eyes, seemed even more alert, as if they held entire stories untold. Samuel sat at the table, the unopened letter beside his tea. He picked it up again, heart slower now, steadier. He read on. "If you're hurting, don't close the door to the world. I'll be around in ways you may not expect. I always believed animals knew things before we did. Maybe one will find you. Maybe it already has." He looked up slowly. The cat sat across from him upright, tail neatly wrapped, as if she were waiting. He continued, "Trust your heart, Sam. When something finds you, it's for a reason, especially if it walks with you when you're at your loneliest." A tear slid down his cheek, caught in the creases of his weathered skin. He folded the letter again, not out of finality, but reverence. "Maybe I'll call you Misty," he said quietly. The cat blinked, once slowly, and in that moment he could swear the air in the room changed, warmer, lighter, as if Lorraine herself had smiled. Summer came slowly that year, with soft rains and blooming lilacs. Samuel found a rhythm again, morning walks, long afternoons reading by the fire, evenings filled with small, quiet joys. Misty, now undeniably a fixture in his life, followed him still, on every walk, in every room, as if guarding his soul. Neighbors began to notice. "That cat follows you like a shadow," one remarked. Samuel only smiled. "She's a good friend. Found me when I needed one." Sometimes she'd meow into the wind, her voice lilting and strange. Sometimes she'd sit by the window for hours, watching a world only she seemed to understand. But mostly she stayed near him, asking for nothing, offering everything. Then came the day the wind turned cold again. Autumn crept in with its long sighs and golden leaves. Samuel, his heart lighter than it had been in years, walked a little farther than usual. The hills glowed amber, the sky a soft silver. They reached the old bench near the ridge, Lorraine's favorite spot. He sat. Misty jumped up beside him. "I think," he said, his voice strong, "that you were trying to tell me something when you followed me." The wind swirled the leaves around them. "That love never really leaves." "That she sent you?" Misty leaned against his leg, a warmth he'd come to treasure. He looked at the horizon, where earth met sky. And for the first time in a long time, Samuel didn't feel like he was walking alone.